Alrighty then, welcome back. After a short delay to another battle report. I've been busy on Universal Battle, I've got to say, which is why there's been a slight delay, but I have a number of reports queued up, so this should be good, should be fun. For me, it might not be fun for you, but who cares about that? So this is interesting. So if you've been watching my battle reports before, you will know I took part in a US Universal Battle tournament where I sucked. This is a UK one, run by Northern Kings, and it's a kind of a testing Clash of Kings 19 tournament. So that's really interesting. So we're all just kind of like testing out lists, putting new things, all from Clash of Kings, just to find out how they work. So this is a Universal Battle battle report. Interesting though, it's a UK tournament. My first opponent from the US again, so another late night, but definitely worth it. It's really fun playing people from another meta, as they say. Enough bad accents, move on. So this was once again my Ratkin versus the Trident realm, which I seem to be facing a lot of, just because I think they had a ton of updates, didn't they? They had some really nice, powerful buffs in 2019, so I'm not surprised people want to try them out. Not a fan of fish myself, got enough to do. So this is the Trident realm list run by my opponent. So they started with a Horde of Nile Ensnarers with a Dragon Shard Shield. So once per game you can increase your defense by 2 to a maximum of 6. 2 regiments of Heart Piercers. Now weirdly he gave one of them the Scrying Gem, and that allows that means that I put down D3 plus 1 units at the beginning of the deployment before he puts anything down. When it came to this, he was a bit confused. I don't think he meant to include it in his army. I think maybe something like Heart Piercing Charm, which is the same. It's pretty pricey, the Scrying Gem, 30 points, so you could get some much nicer things. Anyway, a Naiad Centurion with the Wings of Honey Maze, and then a formation, which is just 2 hordes of Gigas. And you pay for the formation, and you get +1 speed on both of them, which they really need. So Gigas have big shield for defense 6 from the front. And like crushing strength 1,000,000 or something ridiculous. Trident King, an Ector who is just like a mini tank. I always see lists with Ector and Siren, which always makes my Sphincter's Titan. But no Siren in this list. Instead, he went with some allies, 2 hordes of Ogre Shooters. So he's gone for kind of a shooty Trident realm list, with some little meat in the middle of it. So Heart Piercers and Shooters. Trident King's got a Breath Attack. Should be interesting. And Ector's got his Wind Blast. Kraken War. This is my Ratkin list. 3 regiments of Tunnel Slaves, just 3 regiments of Chaff, which is kind of low, I feel. 2 hordes of Shock Troops, one with the Brew of Sharpness. I'm toying with swapping one out for Rat Ogres, whatever they're called, Brutes. Because I think they've got a nicer base, makes them more easy to maneuver, but they are height 2. Horde of Blight with a Caterpillar Potion. Warlock with Bane Chant, Alchemist Curse, and the Inspiring Talisman. Demon Spawn with Wings. 2 hordes of These new unit Tunnel Runners, they're pretty ace. I really like them. They've got Crush 1, Thunderous 1, Speed 8. I've added Brew of Haste to one of those to give them just 1 + 1 speed. And a Night Terror, which is another new unit. He's a bit fragile, but he's a non-individual nimble hero, so he's pretty nice. 5 attacks, 6 attacks, something like that. And together they form a formation which gives the Night Terror Rallying 1 and the Tunnel Runners Fury. So that's pretty cool. So that's my list. So this was the map. So we've got 2 height 6 trees, 2 height 2 hills, 2 height 4 obstacles, a piece of flat terrain, a piece of height 0 terrain, and some height 1 walls. And this is how we deployed. Oh no, before we deployed. So the scenario was Raze, R-A-Z-E. So this is where you have 1 objective marker in the middle, and then after you've chosen sides, you put 3 objectives 6 inches from the middle, 12 inches or more apart, on your opponent's side, and those are the ones you're aiming for. So you get a victory point if you control each one of. So 1 victory point for each objective in your opponent's half that you control, +1 for the center at the end of the game. Alright, so that's how we laid out. So I had the top, he had the bottom. I can't remember who won. I think he won because basically, I don't like this board. I think it's the left side of it. You've got two big obstacles. It basically invalidates the left side. Not many people are going to deploy into that left side unless you're doing something sneaky, because it's just a pain. It's a pain in the ass. Whereas the right side is, you know, you've got some trees and a bit of height flat. That's quite a nice open fighting ground. So most people, you know, it kind of invalidates 2/3 of the board, makes it very cramped. And you'll see when we deploy, ta-da, we ignore the left-hand side of the board. So let's go through the deployment. So I'm on the top. These are my tunnel slaves. There's the blight in the forest, because when you've got something with Pathfinder, you just feel the overwhelming urge to put them into terrain. Those are the tunnel runners. So I try to create a nice fast flank. And there is the demon spawn supporting them. There's the shock troops at the back, hiding behind the tunnel slaves. There's my warlock. And I've stuck the Night Terror on the left here, which I can't remember when he deployed his shooters. It might have been after the Night Terror, but it kind of was invalidated that strategy. I suppose I could have chucked him into the left and then down to the house, but I think he would have got shot off the board, which could have been a tactic. He's kind of a sacrificial. I'm kind of developing into using him as a sacrificial lamb. But in any case, I didn't think he was very useful behind that rock. I get him stuck behind rocks quite a lot. So my opponent had the heart pieces and a lake. I suppose they're naiads, sensible. They've got Pathfinder. There's the two Giga Hordes. There's the Ensnarers. That's the Trident King. So look at the model, ridiculous. That is a Worm Rider Centurion. I don't think I put that in his army list, did I? Oops. He's got a Worm Rider Centurion. Oh, I did. He's got the wings. I did. Worm Rider Centurion with wings. And last but not least, there's the Ogre Shooters. So he's put them in the forest so they can just sit and kind of take me out. Okay, so that's the deployment. So Trident Realm won the roll and decided to go first, and they started off by just moving forwards. And that's where they ended up. This is a composite screenshot because I forgot to take one at the end of his movement, so I've just cut and pasted myself onto the top, which is why there's this weird ruler kind of carved halfway. Let's just ignore that. So he moved forwards, and then his shooters shot at my middle tunnel slave regiment, wavering them. 8 damage, which is what you get when you've got defensive 2. Okay, Ratkin turn 1, so everything that could moved forward. Unfortunately, the Hordes are now stuck behind that wavered regiment. One of the Hordes is. The Night Terror decided he'd rather not run the gauntlet of being shot out by ogres. Chucked himself out behind the hill. Blight moved forward. The Tunnel Runners moved forward. Now I moved forward outside the charge range of the Trident King, but inside the charge range of the Centurion, which was, I don't think that was intentional. And the Demon Spawn moved out behind them to protect, or to offer some threat to protection. That's what I did. I put them into slightly inside charge range or slightly out. I can't remember anyway. What was the plan? Who knows? Move them down the flank and blow things up. Okay, so this is where we ended up. And then I used my rather meager shooting, which is 2 sets of lightning bolts onto his ensnarers, hitting on 6s. We managed 3 points of damage, which isn't bad, given they're stealthy and they're in cover. So yeah, not bad. Right then, so Trident Realm turn 2. So he started off by charging me with his Worm Rider Centurion, and he popped his Trident King up onto the hill, or just behind the hill possibly. Yeah, because he can see my tunnel runners. They're height 3. Giga's moved up, and everything else stayed where it was. So the Worm Rider Centurion did 2 points of damage to my tunnel runners. But then the ogres wavered. So the left-hand ogre shot this tunnel slave regiment, wavering them on a 3. Poor. And the other ogre shooter unit destroyed the previously wavered tunnel slaves, which frankly does me a favour because they were just in the way by that point. My deployment was slightly off because there was a little gap between my blight and my tunnel slaves to allow the heart piercers to shoot my shock troops in the back for 1 point of damage. Oh, boohoo. No big deal. And then, right, so the other heart piercers, because they could see the tunnel runners, because I hadn't quite realised they're height 3, but there you go, I know now. And the Trident King used his breath attack to get 9 points of damage on my tunnel runners, which was a little bit terrifying, but fortunately they did okay. So tunnel runners have got a nerve of 14, 16, so 9. That's, yeah, a very lucky roll for me. Okay, they were inspired, so that was one thing. Normally I don't really do very well with inspiring, but there you go. So my turn 2. The Tunnel Runners, having had a narrow escape from death, just charged the Gigas. Unfortunately, his Trident King had a flank open for my Demon Spawn, so I went into the flank of the Trident King with a Giant Rat Demon. And then I put the Tunnel Slaves and the Blight. They couldn't charge, but I just left them in front of those units to act as a screen. That unit of Shock Troops moved forward, and the Nightmare moved across. And this unit just moved up behind the wavered Tunnel Slaves. This is where we ended up. And we did 6 points of damage onto his Centurion and wavered him, which would be good, except that he's got Fury, so it's utterly pointless. We've got Fury as well. There's just Fury all over the place. The Demon Spawn did, however, kill the Trident King, which was, ouch, very painful on turn 2, I should imagine. And then we wavered his Giga, so a really good turn for me, frankly. 8 points of damage onto a defense 6 unit. Now I have got Crush 1 and Thunderous 1, and I chucked some Bane Charm from the Warlock. So, you know, so Crush 2. So they were down to 3s. Yeah, so Tunnel Runners is 24 attacks on 4s and 3s. Yeah, nice. So good waver there. Trident Realm turn 3. So this is where it all starts to kick off. So this Ogre Horde moved up to get some more range because they're a bit left out down the side there. The Tunnel Slave unit that I put in front of them, I'd given them a flank, so they merrily took that. To allow them to do that charge, the Gigas moved backwards a little bit. That's Ector in the middle there. So Ector just popped himself up between the Heart Piercers and my Blight, basically to protect them, which is pretty good positioning. Because I can't get in there if he's in the way. In fact, I can't do anything. I couldn't charge the other ones either. It was really nice positioning. This is what it looks like when everything's moved. Then both sets of Heart Piercers unleashed upon the Tunnel Runners, who were already heavily damaged, and they died. Sad times for everyone. Well, mainly for me. Ector then used his Krakenmaw, his kind of Wind Blast with damage attack on the Demon Spawn, who moved back a few inches and took 2 damage. Unsurprisingly, Tunnel Slaves died, and he repositioned his Ensnarers. And the Shooter Hordes finished off those other Tunnel Slaves. Well done, lads. So on to my turn 3. So this is when we started to kick off a bit. So we managed to get a charge into the Ensnarers with that set of Shock Troops, and those are the Shock Troops with Sharpness as well. So that's going to hit on 4s with Elite, and then on, what's Ensnarers? Are they 3, 4? 4, I think. 4s and 4s with Elite and Vicious, so oof, that's going to be painful. We moved these Shock Troops up a bit. Can't really do anything, it felt a bit useless. The Blight, because they were unable to do anything else due to good positioning, went into Ector. And the Night Terror and the Demon Spawn both went into the Gigas, both flanking them, so oof. And then the Tunnel Slaves, the Tunnel Runners went back into the Centurion. The Centurion up on the right there. So he held off them for, I think we carried on the slap fight for 5 turns. It was pathetic. Every time I damaged him, he would waver, and then he'd regen the damage, and he'd do 1 point of damage to me. It just goes on and on and on. There you go, serves purpose. This is where we ended up following that movement. Got very lucky with rolling. I felt like, you know, most of this win was luck. Oops, giving away the end. Never mind. So I obliterated his Ensnarers in 1 round of combat, which is 25 attacks. That's lucky rolling. Yeah, well above average. So I felt very lucky. We did 3 points of damage onto Ector. We obliterated the Gigas. You got a flank charge from a demon and from the Night Terror. They just kind of exploded. Sushi for everyone. And we went back in and did a couple more points of damage. Wavered the guy again. It doesn't really matter. He just kind of regens it back. Very irritating. Trident on 4. So the Gigas went into my Blight. Ector then decided to take on the Night Terror. A bit of mano action. And these Heart Piercers turned to face the Demon Spawn. See if they could take him out because they didn't have a line of sight or anything else. Oh yeah, Centurion went back into the Tunnel Runner, just sitting over there. This is where everyone ended up. So both Ogre Hordes shot at the shock troops, 5 points of damage, which is respectable but not enough. 10 points of damage from the Gigas onto the Blight, but they're ensnaring, so yeah, have a taste of your own medicine, Trident Realm. 10 points of damage, no waiver. Oh, they're fearless anyway, they're fearless 22 or something ridiculous. In fact, they'll be fearless 24 with 2 hordes next to them, so yeah, good luck. 3 points of damage from Ector onto my Night Terror, and an extra point of damage onto the Tunnel Runners. So Ratkin turn 4. We charged the right Ogre Shooters with shock troops. We went back in onto Ector. The Demon Spawn and the Blight multi-charged the Gigas, which is bad for them because they haven't got big shield from the side. This horde, which has basically done nothing for the entire game, just turned around. Good job, lads. Well done. Thanks for coming. And obviously the Tunnel Runners went back into the Centurion again and wavered him again for, you know, no point. Failed to do anything specific. 9 points of damage, but didn't get a waiver or a kill on those ogres, which is bad. In fact, a waiver would have been useless as well. I'm still getting flanked by the other shooter horde next turn. Oof. However, we did manage to kill the Gigas, which is good. And a couple of points of damage onto Ector and a waiver, which is great, because Ector is a nasty little piece of work, so that's very useful. And there you go. So, Trident Realm turn 5. It's all getting a bit tense, looking a bit desperate for them, I'm afraid. So, obviously, both Ogre Hordes went into my shock troops. That's going to go as you expect. And there you go. Right, so I forgot. Apologies, I was getting a bit carried away, and it was very late. I forgot to take a photo at the end of this movement phase. So, I will paint a picture with words. I'll paint a picture with words, and we'll work through it. So, it's all on this one shot. So yeah, obviously they exploded into tiny pieces of rat. This left Heart Piercer horde shot at my Demon Spawn and took him up to 12 damage from 9. Now given he's a 16-18, they had a good chance, but unfortunately they did not get a waiver or a kill. He's obviously self-inspiring as well. However then, Ector and the other Heart Piercer horde went into my Night Terror. Now you'd think that'd kill him, but they only did 5 points of damage between them, and he avoided a waiver, which is spectacular given he's 11-13. I think he might be within reach of the Blight, who'd be a 12-14, but still, to not even get wavered, ouch. I think that was our only double one. This game was on him, so I think he once again, dice were in my favour. Electronic dice as well, so you can't even blame the dice. Okay, and then the Centurion went back into my Tunnel Runners and didn't do any damage, which is very bad for him because I get my Thunderous back. Oh dear. So Ratkin 5, and this is the end of Ratkin 5, so apologies, I will tell you what happened because obviously I didn't have the screenshot to show you. So the demon shot over the battlefield out of line of sight of this Ogre Horde. And then these two hordes ran in. No, I think I've done this wrong. I think, by the way, I think I've done this screenshot wrong. So I'll show you what I've put here. So what I've put is that both hordes went into the Ensnarers and that the Night Terror went into Ector. What I think actually happened is the Warlock used Alchemist Curse, which is Alchemist Curse 10 now on Ector. Now he's defense, I think he's defense 6, defense 5, something like that. Anyway, it's brutal on him. So that killed him easily. He is defense 6, yeah. So it's 10 attempts at a hit on a 4+, so maybe 5. And then you need to draw a 5 or less to damage him, and he was already wounded, so boom. And I think then the Night Terror joined in on one of the Heart Piercer regiments with one of those two hordes. We then turned around to face the only remaining unit, which is the Shooters, because on the right hand side the Tunnel Runners finally killed the Centurion. Oh my god, I really thought I was going to die at the end of that, with that kind of superhuman Centurion. So that was very lucky. Yeah, so dead. Pretty much obliterated. So then on Trident Realm turn 6, all he could really do was to shoot. He get some attrition points, because in terms of objectives he hasn't got any of mine, so 0. And I've got, well, potentially, you'll see, but he's got 0. So attrition points is all he was looking for, so he took the only target he really could. He could have taken the Night Terror, come to think of it. Yeah, in fact, I think we re-rolled it at the end of the game just to be fair, because we didn't really understand the scoring. So I think he did manage to kill the Night Terror with the shooters at the end and gets a few more attrition points. But in where we actually played, he shot at the Blight and didn't get anything. And then in my turn 6, I just kind of shot everything over to the objectives. So this is where we ended up. So the Blight took the objective in the middle. The dots have actually disappeared. I think I'm not quite sure what happened with the screenshotting, but if you remember, there's one on the lake and one over to the right. So basically, it's 1, 2, 3, 3-0 at the end, which was very sad. And there was no turn 7. Very sad, not for me. It was great for me. I won. But yeah, so there you go. So that was the end of the game. Here we go. That's what we did. So there you go. So ton of runners shot down there, and everyone else just kind of positioned themselves just in case there was a turn 7 and on the objectives. Yeah. So Ratkin victory. Hurrah! Please note Games Workshop screenshot. So yeah, it was a good game. I think we were testing out lists, and a shooting Trident Realm list. I felt it wasn't very punchy, and I got really lucky. Being frank, I made a couple of mistakes, but he made a couple more. And that was just one of those things. But I'm happy with my list. I might try playing around with brutes instead of shock troops. But I think it worked pretty well. Yeah, so that's it for now. Look forward to some more battle reports coming soon. And thanks for watching.